Hello, hello, hello. This is Yvonne Ator with the Thriving Idealist. I am so glad you could join me. I'm here on one of my solo casts again. Again, it's just unplanned. It's just a riff on what I'm thinking about. And today I'm thinking about the Thriving Idealist PACT. When I was in med school in the 2000s, or the mid 2000s, I discovered someone, Dr. Albert Schweitzer, who was a Nobel Peace Prize winner, a humanitarian, and I was so inspired by him that I decided to do a project in his honor, which is called the HIV Pact, and I promised that I was so inspired by him that I promised that if I survived the first semester of med school, that I would, dedicate my life to serving those who are in the margins, or who are forgotten or hidden in plain sight. And so, when I was in college, I had my own HIV outreach organization, the HIV Pact, HIV prevention via awareness, counseling, and testing, and would go to the soup kitchens and migrant clinics and different places, just providing the HIV rapid test and all of that, and trained fellow med students to give the test as well, and provided counseling and the tests and education. We were at homeless shelters, you name it. We were all over the place and doing this. And so for me, that was the first time I really felt that sense of like commitment to serve either the marginalized or underserved or disenfranchised. And but I learned during my med school years and during my burnout experience, which happened during my residency, was that burnout can look differently on different people. And just because you're wealthy or educated does not mean that you're immune from life happening to you. Just because you are making a lot of money does not, or you have the perfect status, does not mean that you will not experience heartache and burnout and be marginalized in your own way. Even those with the golden handcuffs, those people who are beholden to certain jobs because they get paid very well, can still be marginalized, can still be disenfranchised, right? And so for me, after I had my own burnout experience during my residency years, I and started like learning about burnout and really became interested in making sure that people who want to make a difference, especially after my dad died during a physician strike, um, I really wanted to dedicate the rest of my life to helping those who want to make a difference. So that's how the Thriving Idealist came along, and you can hear the story on in another part of the podcast, all the things I've recorded. But that's just a brief synopsis of how I started thinking about the this idea of serving the marginalized and serving those who are hidden in plain sight. As I've spent the past decade serving mostly physicians, but also other like healthcare workers and frontline workers, especially during the pandemic. I've just really been focused on this mission driven person, a person who is heart centered, who wants to make a difference. And this idea of what does it take for an idealist to thrive? What does it take for a do gooder, a giver, to do well in life? All right. While you're making the difference that you're here to make, without succumbing to overwhelm, burnout, compassion fatigue, hyperwork, moral injury, and all of that. And I've made another pact, right? So this is the Thriving Idealist Pact. The P is a pledge. So a pledge to act, right? So align is the A, connect is the C, and train is the T. So for you to be able to thrive as an idealist, you have to be able to take the pact, right? The pact, the pledge to act. right? So an idealist is not somebody who just dreams and, dreams about doing good in the world, and drifts to outer space because they're, thinking about all the wonderful things they're going to do. No, a true idealist is someone who believes so much in the ideals that they have, the mission, the vision, that they're willing to roll up their sleeves and take action. And so act, you have to be willing to act. So the ACT. So A stands for align. So you have to be willing to align, and that looks like aligning with your values. So you have to know what's really important to you. What makes you an idealist? What are the values that you hold dear? What are your ideals? What are the virtues that you really want to not just profess with your mouth that, hey, this is important to me, whether it's service or creativity or curiosity or connection, right? Or respect, or altruism, whatever your values are. You don't want to only just profess them, talk about it. You don't only want to talk about it, you want to be about it, right? You really want to align with them and go from actually professing them or speaking them to practicing them, right? So going from talking about it to actually being about it, like becoming it. So what are your values? What are the things that are most important to you? And starting to think about, in what ways can I now walk walk the talk, right? So if service is important to you, are you serving, right? If if connecting is important to you, or connection is important to you, are you connected, or are you disconnected? Are you isolated, right, or alienated, right? And so taking active steps to making sure that you're living the values that are important to you. I have a great workshop on living into your values. It's like, it's like a 3-hour workshop. It's great. You can purchase that and get that. It's got a workbook, and you can start to think about your values and how to habituate them, right? Where you're not just talking about them. And there's a whole list of values. You can spend some time, have a practice of picking out your top 5 values, and then habituating them, coming up with habits and actions that makes them go from just things that you talk about to actually things that you do on a day-to-day, moment by moment basis. So that's align. And also you want to align with your personality, the truth of who you are. So discovering your Myers-Briggs, your Sparketype, your strengths, strength finders, all of those. And again, learning what makes you powerful, what makes you strong, what are your strengths, and now really coming to alignment with them. So aligning with your values, aligning with your strengths, aligning with the truth of who you really are, as opposed to pretending to be something that you're not. So that sense of authenticity, which is the highest form of integrity, um, uh, allows you to bring all of the different parts of yourself, some of the parts of yourself that you've thrown away or orphaned because maybe you felt like they weren't good enough, or maybe you were ashamed of them or embarrassed about them, or thought that maybe they would make you others would judge you for being like that, um, bringing back those pieces of yourself that you've forgotten or thrown away or abandoned, or ignored, right? And bringing them back and choosing to integrate and live them on a day-to-day, moment by moment, breath by breath basis, right? So that alignment gives you that inner authority from which you make decisions. When you stand, you show up with a presence that's authentic, and powerful, because you've done that work of gathering all the bits of yourself and really integrating with the truth of who you really are, and then being able to walk in that embodiment and congruency of the truest and highest version of yourself, right? And so that's alignment. The second thing is connect. So again, we're making the pact, right? The pledge to align, and then now we're pledging to connect, right? So connection, right? There's an African proverb that says that, if you want to go somewhere, if you want to go somewhere quickly, you go alone. If you want to go somewhere far, you go with someone. If you want to go far, you go with someone. And, this is one of the hardest lessons I've learned, and I still am learning it, right? We're better in community, right? Iron sharpens iron. Most times life will not let you do life by itself. Like, you will have to ask for help or lock arms with like-minded people who are aligned and you can encourage one another on the journey. So you want to connect with like-minded people, like-hearted people, people who are in alignment with your values. They don't necessarily have to have the same values or agree with you, but you're in alignment, which means that your values kind of agree with one another, right? Your values agree with their set of values, are compatible. Right. So if hermiting is your value and somebody else is like connection, that's not really in alignment, right? If someone's value has to do with like bottom line and only bottom line above people, and you're like people over profit and you care more about people, you like profit too, but people are more important, then you're going to clash, right? So you want to make sure that you're aligned with people, you're connecting with people who are aligned, and that way you can go far together, right? I think there's a Bible verse around like, a cord of three strands is not easily broken, right? If you're just by yourself, it can easily, that one strand can easily be broken, but when you tie up three strands, you now have a strong cord that is not as easily broken. um Something that happens when we gather with people who are like-minded and like-hearted, and there's that extra spark that, one person produces a spark, but the second person doesn't produce twice as much. It's like almost like exponential. So you want to connect with people who are like-minded, and then, and that, which takes us to T, which is train. So pledge to align, pledge to connect, and now you're going to pledge to train, right? You want to train with people, you're by yourself, but you constantly want to train as an idealist, right? So you want to make sure that you're training your body, right? You're working on physical, like you're training physically, building that body, moving your body so that, you're able to regulate that stress, you're able to regulate your hormones, sweat it out, and then being able to whether it's trained like emotionally, right, whether it's getting a therapist or having a journaling practice or a talk therapy or whatever, but you have a practice that helps you, or even having a coach, you have a practice that allows you to emotionally um regulate and build and develop. You also want to develop mentally, right? You want to make sure that you're studying about the things that will, that you care about, whether it's, finances or love or whatever topic you're interested in. And so you're constantly developing, constantly training so that you can do the mission well, right? So that you can live the values that are important to you. So reading books, studying, watching YouTube videos, that speak to the issues that you care about, and constantly developing, and then developing yourself spiritually, right? Whether it's having a community of practice, something connected, being connected to something bigger than yourself, right? And whether it's church or meditation or nature, really spending time connecting, or whether it's being in a band, connecting to something outside of yourself and developing yourself that way. So, and then having daily rituals, morning rituals, nighttime rituals, which I usually install with my clients. But making sure that you're training constantly, right? You're developing constantly your five mountains, uh, 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 Commander Mark Divine of Unbeatable Mind talks about, training your five mountains: mentally, spiritually, emotionally, intuitionally, and physically. So you want to make sure that you're training and to develop yourself, your mind, your spirit, your emotions, your body, so that you can be the best you can be as you do the thing that you're here to do, making that positive impact in the world that you want to make. So that's just what's on my mind today. The Thriving Idealist PACT. So I want to challenge you or invite you to join the Thriving Idealist PACT, right? Join us to, with that pledge to align, pledge to connect, pledge to train on a daily basis, moment by moment, breath by breath basis, because that's what it will take to master yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and all of that, so that you can serve sustainably serve sustainably and thrive as you make a positive impact in the world without burning out, without compassion fatigue, without overwhelm, right? It's in the training, it's in the connecting, is in the alignment. These are practices that you do on a regular basis. And of course, if you want to join a community of thriving idealists, you can come join us in our respite, the Thriving Idealist Respite, which is a place where we all learn all the skills around empathy and self compassion, and taking off the armor and learning skills and practices for our daily and nighttime rituals, and all of that. But even if you don't join us, take the pledge and let me know in the comments if you did. Pledge to align, connect, and train so that you can be the truest and highest version of yourself as you make your positive impact in the world, so that you can continue to train and to serve sustainably without burning out, without compassion fatigue, without, you know, moral injury and overwhelm and all of the things that keep us do-gooders from doing the thing that we're here to do. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, let me know in the chat, in the comments section, or just shoot me an email and let me know how you're doing. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of The Thriving Idealist, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Go cultivate your light.